Alright, this is how to set up the AcroWhoop. Excuse me. Let's get straight to it. Alright, first I'm going to go ahead and create a new model number. Here you can see Death B3, that was what I had it, so I'll go ahead and start off fresh so you can see exactly what I did. Alright, go ahead and select a new spot on my Taranis. Choose quadcopter. And I do apologize when I'm fussing around with the Taranis, everyone. It was behind my laptop. I'm not really made to record any of this type of stuff, so I had to Mexican rig this. Alright, so there you go. You see the model number. It was just set up basic, default, everything. Scroll down and for mode, I choose D8 as described in the FuriousFPV. I go ahead and put the cursor on bind, and I don't click bind just yet. So here's the AcroWhoop. Alright, so there's the bind button. Like I said, this is behind my laptop. I'm trying to look over my laptop, trying to figure this out. So you'll see I'll bring it over. So what I'm doing here is I'm plugging in the micro USB into it, because on the other end I will be plugging the regular USB into the computer to give it power. So what I'm going to be doing is holding the bind button down. I'm trying to get that thing to click. I really can't figure it out. There we go. Hold it down, give it juice. I plug in and you can see it blinking there. So there's two lights. There's one in the corner there next to the bind button, and there's one blinking. That's the arm button. So with it blinking, what I go ahead and do is now I click on bind, and if you look at the lights there, the receiver light turned off. That was in the far corner. The arm is still blinking. I deselect bind again and I kill the power. That was basically it. So now it's bound to my Taranis. And to verify this, I go ahead and after I unplugged it, I plug it back in, and then I connect it. And you can see the LED as I just showed there. It's solid green. That when it's solid green, that means it's bound. I go to the receiver tab and I verify the controls are working, and you can see there me moving my left, my right gimbal, but things aren't quite set up properly. And what I mean by that is, as you can see there on the channel map is TAER. I go ahead and put my cursor on it. In the Taranis, it's not set up for this. Now in another video, I saw a video where you can actually change that, actually physically type in what your remote is. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it on the Taranis. To me, I like it simpler this way. So what you see here is on the inputs, just leave it as is. On the mixer is where you will be changing it. This is how I do it. You can do it however you figure out how to do it. So I forgot what setup it was, so I had to go back. So I move throttle. Again, this is in the mixer. Move the throttle to channel 1. I was supposed to move aileron to channel 2, but I messed up. and move these channels to their proper order. T-A-E-R. Throttle, aileron, elevator, rudder. So when you go back, and you'll see here, moving my throttle up and down, throttle moves up and down. Move my yaw, yaw moves side to side. There's my pitch, there's my roll. Everything's working beautifully. I didn't have to disconnect. All I did was, and reboot, all I did was just change it on the Taranis. Good to go. I don't even have to hit save in beta flight. It's just as is. So I just wanted to do that first before anything, just to verify that it is bound, it is doing, receiving the inputs properly. So what I'm doing here is I go to FuriousFPV site for the AcroWhoop. I could put this in the description. I will put this in the description. Go. If you scroll all the way down, just after the videos, there's the AcroWhoop RAR. Go ahead and download that and unpackage it into a folder. When you do, you're going to get this text. So what that text is it contains the dump file. So just go ahead and Control A to copy it all. And then you close it down. Go back into beta flight. Command line interface. Place your cursor there on the input. Control V. Pastes it. Hit enter, and it'll start pasting everything. It'll start entering everything. Once it is done, it'll automatically save and it'll automatically reboot. And you'll see that happen here in a bit. It's loading that whole configuration, and there you'll see it just disconnected, and there it's connected again. So that is the dump file. So if you type in dump again, go back to the command line interface, type in dump, this is the configuration. So if you scroll up, you'll see there beta flight 3.0.1. When you choose another tab from the CLI, it disconnects because it saves. So don't freak out, just go ahead and reconnect. And you can see here, I'm just verifying. Nothing has changed. Everything's still the same. I go into each tab. I'm moving around the whoop just to verify the accelerometer is working. Serial RX, free sky. Looking through, and here I want to verify that telemetry is checked on, and it is. So we're going to go ahead and set up the telemetry. So I leave it plugged in, I leave it connected. I go into my telemetry screen on the Taranis, which is, if you long hold or scroll through the pages, you'll eventually find it. Do discovery mode, and there you'll see all the inputs that you're getting from the telemetry. And if you scroll up, you'll see VFAS. There's not a VFAS there because I don't have a battery plugged in. So here what I'm going to go ahead and test is I'm going to test that the whoop actually responds to the remote and that it flies. I'm plugging in the battery. The green light indicates that it's bound. Default arming is the throttle down and to the right. It takes off because the motors are on backwards. More on this later. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, so that way I don't have to fuss around with arming it with default arm down and to the right, I'm going to go ahead and go into the Taranis and set up the auxiliary 1 to be my arm, this arm. So I'll go into the input screen, go down to 5, you can do it anything you want I think, and I'll set it up to aux 1. You don't have to use aux 1, I'm just doing it aux 1 just for video purposes, tutorial purposes. there's plenty of videos out there show you how to do this. I'm just doing it so then you don't have to, you know, go out there. You can just, you know, look at this real quick, whatever. If you really want a thorough, you can go out there. Blue Falcon Project, David, Joshua Bardwell. I'm setting it up to that one. Right off the bat, I don't know, it's what, F. I'm setting it up to F. If you select it and just flick the switch, it'll actually select it for you and put it as the source. So I get out of the screen once those two are set up. Then I go into my mixer, and on channel 5, I'm going to go ahead and already select aux1 as my source. And here I'm going to name it arm, and that's just for me so I know that that's my arm button. Or switch, I'm sorry, not button. So with those set up, I'm going to be going into beta flight and then changing my mode and setting auxiliary 1 to arm. So I connect my whoop. Go down to modes. First one, I move these settings off to the left. That's going to be my arm. And if you see the yellow cursor, as I flick it, it jumps back and forth. That's exactly what I want. I click save. Then I go into my config. I'm going to turn off accelerometer because I'm going to be doing air mode. I turn on air mode and I save and reboot. What that does is it basically leaves air mode on all the time. The accelerometer is not on. So you can see the AcroWhoop visual right there is flat, even though it probably is laying down on the table because I turned off accelerometer. Now we're going to go ahead and set up the motor. So the motors are on backwards because I followed the tiny whoop instructions, beta or BeeBrain. So if you're looking at this, the proper direction, so the battery is facing towards you, you'll see the black and white wires, which means it's counterclockwise, and the red and blue wires, which means it's clockwise. So this is how the original Inductrix was set up. This is wrong for the AcroWhoop. I did not move around the motors because they're difficult to get in there anyway. I think I bent one of those stands. So instead I left them as is. Counterclockwise on the bottom right, that's motor 1, and clockwise on the bottom left. So what you see here is that if you type in dump, it'll dump. Scroll up and you'll see yaw motor direction equals 1. We're going to go ahead and reverse that. This is only if you have the motors in the wrong direction like I do. So once I do that, set yaw motor direction equals -1, hit enter in the command line interface, then hit save. It'll turn off, reboot, as I said before. Let's go ahead and verify that it's a little bit more stable. This is facing towards me. Arm doesn't fly off, that's good. There I go. Cool. Now, one more thing that we have to do. I did this just because I noticed it. Doesn't mean you have to. Your choice. I noticed that the receiver thresholds are way off. So if I go all the way, okay, let me moving it down there, all the way to the down you'll see that it hits well beyond 1,000. If I go all the way up, it goes well beyond 2,000 on each of the sticks for throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to adjust this on the Taranis so that way that the values are proper: 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000. So to do this, I am going into the Taranis, page over, till you see the outputs. Now channel 1 through 4 is each stick. So it's throttle is the top, so you'll see me moving, and if you look off to the middle there, you'll see the little arrows move as I move the sticks. So channel 1 is going to be the throttle, and we're going to be wanting to move this number, which is your minimum, and the next number over, which is your maximum. So you'll see here on the throttle, as I have it highlighted, I'm going to have it all the way down. I'm going to select the lower number and just keep moving it until the throttle comes to 1,000. I'm going to move over to the upper trim, move my throttle all the way up, then lower my trim until the throttle shows 2,000 in beta flight. Then I'm going to move to yaw and do the same thing. I'm going to move my yaw all the way to the left. I'm going to move it all the way to the left and adjust the sub trim until it's 1,000. Once that's there, then I'm going to move to the sub trim, upper sub trim, and move it until it's 2,000. I'm going to do this for every single channel for the roll, pitch, yaw, and throttle. I do this because, as far as I know, and as long as I've known, the trims should always be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. The lower, middle, and upper. And I'm changing them because I don't want the quad to be out of control. I mean, that's what I know. I don't know exactly, the reasoning behind this. You could probably look it up, on YouTube, Joshua Bardwell, I'm pretty sure, or Bruce out at RC Model Reviews. But I'm just adjusting it so that it's those values. Now, once I do the sub trim and trim, then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start altering. You can see on the bottom right corner this blinking number up and down, so you get the middle to be 1,500. Now each one of those except for the throttle doesn't matter. I apologize what I said earlier. Throttle, because you're not leaving the throttle in the middle unless you are, but the ones that really matter on the 1,500 setting is going to be roll, pitch, and yaw. So here I'm adjusting yaw, roll. And here I'm adjusting where the mid is. And I'm verifying 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Verifying on each channel. And since I'm messing around with the Taranis, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the VFAS. I'm sorry. It's 950 over here. I'm a little bit tired. So that it speaks out the low battery. So here on the logical switch 1, you want to do A less than X. On the next one, you want to go ahead and on the input, you want to do VFAS. On the next one, it's 3.5. That's, for me, I just chose that because that's 1S, 1 light bulb. Low. And for duration, I chose 2 seconds. I got this idea from Chad at Rotor Riot. So if it drops for 3.5, longer than 2 seconds, it'll go ahead and register this switch and it'll make it to be true. So when you jump over into special functions, then what I'm going to go ahead and do is choose that logical switch 1. So I'll scroll through here and choose L1. Went a little past it here. And I'm going to do play track. Now the track here, I know there's been issues in the past with several of the sound bites and whatnot. I have the Amber pack. If you don't already have it, I suggest upgrading your Taranis. I don't know exactly what software I have on the Taranis. I could put it in the description. And so here I'll have bat low, just 1x. So that means whenever L1 is met, it'll play the track battery low. And here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to set up SH switch to play my value. I do this just normally on any quad that I have, and the value is going to be VFAS. And so basically what it'll do is whenever I'm just sitting there and I arm it, you have to arm it or otherwise you won't get that telemetry. And you hit the SH switch, it'll tell you 3.5 volts, 3.6 volts, whatever the battery current voltage is or whatnot. Very, very helpful when you don't want to take your balance lead and plug it into a checker or whatnot, just to see exactly what voltage your battery is at. So there you go, VFAS. We're all set up. So here I'm going to go ahead and go into my PIDs, my PID tuning, and I'm going to change my expo. I'm just changing this to show you guys that you can actually change it on the AcroWhoop. I'm doing Super Expo. I'm doing it all the way to whatever I have there. I can't see the screen small. And this is normally how I have my other quads, how I normally like it and whatnot. With the AcroWhoop, it's a little bit more difficult to control, but that's because I mean it's so fast, it's so nimble. But it works fine for me. Alright, so here I am. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. I'm going to step away so you can see that I'm going to move it back and forth. I'm not going to get a whole lot of air, and the reason why is because I'm barely going to be moving it. Here, I didn't realize the direction of it. I thought I was facing forward. I didn't realize my little Yorkie there, raindrop. Here I realize, see me turn it there, facing it away from me. So in that way, forward is forward, left, right, back, forward, and whatnot. And that's all. Everything's working, guys. So hope this helps somebody. Hope this clears up a few things. Peace.